This in my pocket. And we're good to go. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm very pleased to be here with a number of esteemed guests. My name is Kristen Wong-Tam, and I'm the Member of Provincial Parliament for Toronto Centre. I'm joined on the podium here with my colleague and dear friend Jill Andrew, who's the Member of Provincial Parliament for Toronto St. Paul. Jill is MPP Andrew is co-sponsoring an upcoming private members bill that is supported by a number of esteemed advocates that you will see standing with us today. We are joined by Joseph on the stage with Joseph Fox, who's the chair of the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers Indoor Air Quality Advisory Group, and his colleague Sarah Maraban. Also joining us is Dr. Samantha Green, who's a Toronto-based physician as well as a public health advocate. And then finally, we are joined by France Holdinger, who is the owner of Apricot Tree Cafe, located in the city of Mississauga, as well as an air quality advocate, Lawrence Gold. Let me take you back 3 years ago, everyone. So on March the 17th, 2020, two things happened in Ontario. We recorded the first death of someone who passed from COVID-19. The provincial government began what would be the first of many lockdowns. Businesses in Toronto faced over 360 days of lockdown, where bars, restaurants, theaters, concert halls, and many other businesses that were critical to our economic success, our vitality, was then forced to close. Over 12,300 Ontarians have died because of COVID-19. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business estimates that Canadian small businesses have taken up new debt because of COVID-19, totaling over $139 billion. They also have reported that over 71% of small businesses have been forced to take on additional debt as a result of COVID-19. We have learned so much, and we have gone through so much. We now have new tools, we have lessons learned, and new technologies available to us that were not available at the beginning of 2020. We can be prepared for the next inevitable pandemic. COVID is airborne, and COVID will not be the last airborne disease that we will see. Taking the right action today, making the right decisions today, and building the right infrastructure today can help pandemic-proof Ontario. We can make changes so that we will never have to ask our businesses, institutions to close down again. Today, if someone got sick from unsafe drinking water, we don't look at that illness as a medical problem. We would identify that as a failure of government and society to act, to provide guarantees of safety of our infrastructure. Public health focuses on improving and protecting communities and community health and well-being, with an emphasis on preventing disease and injuries among large groups of people. We need public health to work robustly and behind the scenes so that our health is never compromised again, nor are the freedoms that we rely upon. When public health is data-driven, well-planned, and properly working, its work goes unnoticed. It literally is an invisible hand that makes sure our water is safe and that the air we breathe in are safe, the buildings are safe. The Peterborough Board of Health this month wrote to the government asking them to update the Ontario Building Code to improve ventilation standards. Preventing the next airborne pandemic means that we take the lessons from COVID-19 today and we implement workable solutions to prevent future lockdowns, future missed in-classroom learning, future shuttered small businesses on our main streets. We need to treat our air quality with the same care as we treat our very own drinking water. No parents should be worried about their children when they send them to schools or daycare. They don't need to worry about them being unsafe, and that should not be the case. No family should worry about their seniors and loved ones in long-term care homes because they become death traps. As of today, we simply know too much to make any excuses for being unprepared for when and not if the next airborne pandemic arrives. And this is why I'm so keen to announce that on Tuesday, my colleagues and I will be introducing a private member's bill entitled Protect Ontario's People and Economy from Airborne Pandemics Advisory Committee Act. This bill will create a diverse group of experts from industries who have been worse hit by the pandemic, including long-term care workers, frontline workers, and people in long-term care settings. It will also include engineers, architects, as well as infectious disease experts and occupational hygienists, and many more. They will come together to create a series of recommendations for the legislature to ensure that building codes and indoor air quality standards are updated as soon as possible, so that Ontario becomes a hard place for the next airborne virus to spread and take hold. The private member's bill came out of the work by the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. They have created a world-class guide, a document that has improved air quality measures here in Ontario. Some of the early adapters are here to explain what they have done. They have published a guide that has now earned international attention from public health workers around the world, and their work now deserves to be taken up by this government. The bill will create an expert committee to make recommendations on COVID-19 learnings and lessons, and the topics will include how to modify the legal requirements on operations and maintenance of public spaces indoors, how to educate the public around indoor air quality and public settings, how to help small businesses afford the cost of air quality improvements. Now we're going to hear from the esteemed speakers who have joined us. First up is Joseph Fox, the chair of the Indoor Air Quality Advisory Group at the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. Following Mr. Fox, we will hear from Dr. Samantha Green, a local doctor and public health advocate. And then finally, we will hear from Franz Hochholdinger from the Apricot Tree Cafe, who has taken the practical lead in making air quality improvements to his establishment.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Fox, and I am the chair of the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers Indoor Air Quality Advisory Group. I'm here today to discuss our core recommendations for providing safer indoor air and why they are so important. COVID-19 is an airborne pandemic. We know that outdoor spaces have the lowest risk for COVID transmission, and we could bring that safety indoors by improving indoor air quality. Our advisory group has put together 6 recommendations to achieve this goal. First, we are calling for at least 6 air changes per hour of clean air in occupied indoor spaces through ventilation, filtration, or UV light. This will help to reduce the risk of transmission of airborne diseases like COVID-19, the flu, and RSV. It will also help stop tuberculosis, which is still a significant concern in Indigenous communities. Second, buildings should comply with current minimum ventilation standards set by ASHRAE and CSA to maintain healthy indoor air quality. Third, we recommend using MERV 13 filters in air handling units, portable HEPA filters, or do-it-yourself Corsi Rosenthal boxes when air pollution is a concern. These filters capture fine particulate matter, including airborne viruses, which can contribute to respiratory problems and other health issues. Fourth, we recommend using upper room UV systems in healthcare and congregate living settings, and for their use to be considered in high-risk settings. These systems can reduce transmission by anywhere from 70 to 90%. It can reduce outbreaks in long-term care, limit healthcare-acquired infections, and provide proper protection for vulnerable and immunocompromised individuals. Fifth, it's important to avoid alternative air cleaning methods like ionization, which are not necessarily effective and may even produce harmful byproducts. Finally, we recommend promoting transparency with indoor air quality, including carbon dioxide monitoring with public displays. It's essential to provide clear information about indoor air quality to help people make informed decisions about their health and safety. Clean indoor air is particularly important for children who spend a significant amount of their time in school. Studies have shown that when indoor air quality is improved, children have fewer respiratory symptoms, improved grades, better test scores, and fewer sick days. Providing clean air for children is the way we can keep them safely in school. Moreover, implementing these recommendations is how we can pandemic-proof our society. The cost of these improvements is minimal compared to other costs associated with dirty air, such as loss in productivity, sick days, and health concerns. Clean air should be a right, just like clean water. COVID has been an indoor pandemic. The current standards and existing systems we have in place are inadequate. We don't accept leaving fire alarms broken for months, and we shouldn't accept ventilation equipment being left broken as well. But we do, and this needs to stop. Therefore, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers is calling on all Chief Medical Officers of Health, both in Ontario and throughout Canada, to clearly state that COVID is an airborne disease. We are going into the fourth year of the pandemic, and it's essential to acknowledge this fact to take the necessary actions to protect public health. We welcome this private member's bill to allow OSPI's leadership to be reflected in Ontario's regulations. Ontario engineers are leading, and we want our governments to lead as well. We hope to see our leadership on air quality reflected in better safety for all Ontarians. This is of critical importance as we learn to move forward, protect the vulnerable, keep kids in school where they belong, and lay the foundation for a healthy and safe society for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You've stolen some of my talking points. So I'm a family physician in downtown Toronto. And over the last 3 years, I can't believe it's been 3 years, I have supported patients who have been very sick with COVID, including those recovering from prolonged hospitalization. And in August 2022, I also caught COVID-19 from my son, who got it from daycare. I then spent 3 months in bed, away from my practice as a family physician and really unable to parent my kids. I am lucky to feel fully recovered today, but I am terrified of the inevitable next infection. And I am certainly far from the only one who has suffered prolonged symptoms like that. It does not need to be this way. We have known since early in the pandemic that COVID-19 is spread through both droplets and aerosols. We have also known that COVID is not just a cold, even after vaccination, and can cause harm to our brains, our hearts, our blood vessels, and our lungs. And so we have known that clean air can help prevent very serious illness, death, and disability. And that's the case in both adults, the elderly, and in young children. 3 years on, we have not yet implemented air quality standards in places like daycares, and there has been no support for small businesses to implement clean air measures, including ventilation and filtration. But it is not too late. We can implement these measures now and prevent tremendous illness, death, and disability from COVID-19, and also from, as you have heard, the inevitable future airborne pandemics. We will save lives and a tremendous amount of healthcare dollars and lost work time. Clean indoor air also has additional benefits, reducing the harms of both outdoor air pollution, which is responsible for 1 in 7 premature deaths in Canada, and indoor air pollution. And there's evidence that clean indoor air, which is free of volatile organic compounds or VOCs, and other harmful indoor air pollution, has been linked with better learning outcomes in schools, which you've heard. Today's private member's bill is the first step towards improving indoor air throughout Ontario, and hopefully it will serve in other provinces as an example for other provinces as well. And I look forward to the day when I feel comfortable spending time indoors in public spaces. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Francois.
Thank you. My name is Francois Holdinger. I'm the owner of the Apricot Tree Cafe in Mississauga. In the fall of 2020, we connected with Lawrence Gold, who helped us to make indoor air quality better in our restaurant and make it safer for our customers. Larry has been an advocate for better indoor air quality for quite some time now. With his help, we did an air audit at the restaurant in the summer of 2021, and it was determined we should install HEPA filters to provide a safe environment for our customers. Due to the layout of our restaurant, we decided to get 4 filters to make it even safer. In addition to the filters, we also use CO2 monitoring. And just a week ago, we installed a particular monitor to give us even more information about the air quality in the restaurant. And now customers can scan a QR code at the door or just click a link on our website to get the live levels at the restaurant at any time. We have been doing this for over a year and a half now, and we're very confident to say that none of our employees ever got infected at work with COVID. It's quite remarkable considering that we work close to each other all day long, and we have a couple hundred customers sitting in the dining room on a daily basis without mask as well. Our measures not only reduce the risk of infection for COVID, but for many other health-related issues as well. There's just no downside to safer indoor air in workplaces and in schools. Having kids or employees sick multiple times a year is just not an option. Many people are still avoiding indoor settings. By providing safer air in your business, you can cater to a much more broader customer base. Healthy employees also equal healthy economy. And we're also calling on the federal government to perhaps convert the SEPA loans into an incentive for businesses to invest in clean air. It will help everybody along. Those filters right here, they are made right here in Barrie by AeroX Technologies. Leasing one of those filters costs a lot less than losing the revenue for a day just because one employee called in sick again. I can only speak on the fact the filter set at our restaurant, but we need more business associations to come to the table as well. With more data, we get more knowledge. With more knowledge, we will get to know what works best and what doesn't. We hope that this bill will set new indoor air quality standards across the province and help Ontario to be a world leader. And just yesterday, I got a text message from Mayor Bonnet-Crombie during lunch service letting me know that the Peterborough Board of Health is calling on Ontario to improve ventilation standards in the building code. So great to know that we have her full support as well in our efforts to provide a safer workplace, both for customers and staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all our esteemed speakers for sharing their knowledge, their working experience, and of course the solutions that have now been brought forward. I think it's very safe for us to say, and I'd like to just put this out there right now, is that this is private citizens coming forward, asking the government to take a nonpartisan approach to solution making. The pandemic has been brutal. It has changed everything about the way we live, and it has impacted every single human being on this planet. It would be a colossal mistake for us to do nothing else in response, knowing that it's not a matter of when, but not a matter of if, but when the next pandemic could hit. And because we live now in a more globalized environment than ever before, we will be able to share our information around the globe. And this is a made in Ontario solution. And this is something that Ontario can lead in. I hope that the government can come forward and work with us collaboratively to ensure that this bill is advanced as quickly as possible. I would even welcome the government picking up the contents of the bill and making it their own. Let it be a government bill. Do not let it languish on the order paper, or does not have to be sent to committee to then wait and die an untimely death. We've already seen too much death in Ontario. I hope that we could do this work as quickly as possible, and I know that the advocates who are with me today and many others who have been actually doing this work on their own would really love to see some government support. And so I would like to now bring our press conference almost to a close, but also to welcome any questions there are in the media, with the media.
Christian, have you had any response from the government? Have you spoken with any Tory MPPs about whether they'll be supporting your bill?
I have had some preliminary conversation, no commitments. They wanted to see the language of the bill. And because we were finalizing the language of the bill, I haven't shown it to them, but they do know it's coming. There is a very simple and I think an elegant solution. All we're doing is asking the government to bring together subject matter experts to then put them to work, like they have been doing, as we can tell, and to bring that work formally in the House. So therefore, the government will be a part of the solution making, and they'll be at the table with them. I don't think that it will cost a heck of a lot, but we would certainly, it would be much more expensive if we don't do it. And not to mention the fact that we now have the Peterborough Board of Health, and I know that there are others that are going to be moving forward with recommendations, making the formal request to the government that they need to update the building code, which in many ways those conversations are ongoing, but we want it to be formalized and to bring it out so it has full accountability.
Question for Franz. I mean, you mentioned the costs of running the HEPA filters. Are you able to give a sense, even a ballpark figure, of how much you have spent in the last 2 years to improve the air quality in your business?
Well, like a HEPA filter, one unit costs $2,500, plus CO2 monitor, which is a few $100s, plus the air quality audit, which was done by Larry, but that was pro bono.
Anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 if you're going to go the full enchilada, but not necessary.
Okay, so and that's for. I'm sorry, I don't know your business, but like how big a
It's about 100 seats and it's 300 square feet.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for Joe Fox. In terms of, you mentioned UV, and one thing I've heard about that is that we have to be careful about where it's used because while it can be disinfecting, for lack of a better word, it can also have its own impacts on air quality. Is that? I mean, that's obviously an issue that we want to address, right?
There has been recent research where they modeled different types of UV. One is upper room UV, which we're recommending. Another one is far UV. It shows that under certain conditions, there could possibly be detrimental effects on indoor air quality. From what I remember, it's primarily far UV that has the main concern. Upper room UV, especially in a well-ventilated area, is not a problem. We're not recommending using upper room UV just as the single measure. We are recommending that spaces comply with minimum ventilation requirements. The concerns about upper room UV on indoor air quality, if you're complying with minimum ventilation, I believe are non-existent.
And sort of also getting to what I was asking about France there, I mean, do you have some sense, and I realize like engineers are not necessarily like commercial builders, but do you have some sense of what it would cost for other businesses to adopt these kinds of measures?
It highly depends space to space. In a lot of situations, you could build a Corsi Rosenthal box. It's $100, and that would give you the 6 air changes per hour. That would do a really good job. So it highly depends. There's been research done that if businesses double ventilation, it costs roughly $40 per person per year. Usually, facility managers would think it's 2 to 10 times that much. And it would give you a payback of $6,500 per year because of increased productivity and reduced sick days. The cost of inaction is orders of magnitude higher than the cost of action for any indoor air quality measures.
I would just also add that, in the past, we've seen government come up with tax incentives, grants, different types of tax breaks for businesses to upgrade their infrastructure. We've seen this with the removal of urea, formaldehyde, asbestos. At one point in time, government was recommending using that as a form of insulation. New information emerged. They realized it was toxic, and then they had to sort of come back and ask them to revisit. So the recommendation from the Board of Health in Peterborough is specifically asking the government to come up with a range of solutions. And I think that what I found incredibly valuable about the engineer's report is that it specifically talks about how to do it proactively. This is not going to be done overnight, and not everyone's coming on board. But we do know that if we start the conversation today, we'll be that much further ahead in front of the next pandemic when it hits. Are there any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much, everyone.